Hello and welcome to DNSN Radio Episode 4, our predictions special. Today we're going to be making predictions for Rookie of the Year, playoff contenders, division winners, and so much more. As a special treat, we've got our first guest on DNSN Radio. Allow me to introduce Mr. James Jones. Welcome to the show, James.
Woo! Hello! Thank you, Shay. Thanks for having me on the show.
No problem, man. James is the owner and coach of the Buffalo Bills, engaged in a divisional race right now, and he's going to be on as a guest picker today. So James, let's get started. We'll dive in right away with our Rookie of the Year predictions. Who do you have as Rookie of the Year in the AFC this year?
Well, in the AFC, I'm going to have to go with the Cardinals rookie quarterback, who's come out very, very solid. And you know who this is. It's going to be Mr. B.J. Wright. He has 3,070 yards in passing, 23 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. He has a QBR of 120.9. He's in the top class of all the veterans right now, top 5 veterans in the NFL right now, and he is on fire. He has to be the NFC Rookie of the Year for me.
Yeah, I can't disagree with that. People thought that he was crazy when he traded his veteran quarterback, but B.J. Wright's come in and really lit it up this year, completing 64% of his passes, and he's on pace to throw for almost 5,000 yards and 36 touchdowns this year, and he's got to be the consensus NFC Rookie of the Year this year. So let's bounce over to the AFC where it gets a little more interesting. Who do you have as the AFC Rookie of the Year right now?
Well, this one was a really tough call, but I am going to go with the Bengals. And the Bengals have he is a rookie. He's a cornerback, rookie cornerback. J.J. Jordan is who I picked. And he's like 6 foot, 190 pounds. He has 50 tackles as a cornerback, 35 solo, no sacks, 1 interception, but he is a solid corner. He's fast, he's strong, and that would have to be my pick. I think I see him doing more before the season ends out.
All right. For me, the AFC is a little bit more interesting than the NFC because usually you think of Rookie of the Years and you think of stats that offensive players put up. But looking at the offensive rookies, there's really no one making an impact in the AFC. The AFC leading rookie passer has 80 yards passing. The leading running back has 472 yards rushing, and they don't even have a top 5 receiver in yards. And so you've got to go to the defensive side of the ball, and so I'm going to go with middle linebacker for the Houston Texans, Telvin Duncan. He is the rookie leader in tackles in the AFC with 61. He comes in at like 5th on his team, and I know that a lot of that is due to a lot of sim losses from not having an owner, and that defense is on the field a lot, but Telvin Duncan's my pick for AFC Rookie of the Year. Now let's shift gears a little bit, and we're going to go with our dark horse teams to make the playoffs. So who's the team that you have that's your underdog pick to make the playoffs, and why?
My underdog pick to make the playoffs would be the Seahawks. Seattle Seahawks, even though their record, they have it's still a lot of football left. But the Seahawks show fire. They show that they can get out there and actually play the game. Yes, they did just lose to the reigning Super Bowl champions this last game, Cardinals, but they did show some spark. I see them as the dark horse, slipping on through and possibly making the playoffs.
All right, for my dark horse pick to make the playoffs, I've got the Carolina Panthers out of the NFC South. The Panthers currently are on the bubble for the playoffs. They're sitting at 6-3, 1 game behind the New Orleans Saints. But as a schedule, you look at the schedule breakdown for the rest of this season, they've simply got an easier schedule than the Saints. They have a road date with the Saints coming up in a couple of weeks, and to be brutally honest, they've completely dominated the Saints over the last few years. And so my dark horse pick for the playoffs is the Carolina Panthers. All right, so let's go to the Super Bowl. James, who is your underdog pick to make the Super Bowl this year?
I'm going with the Vikings to make the Super Bowl this year due to the fact that the Vikings, even though despite their record, they went on track last season for being undefeated, and they hit a little bump in the road, and that happens. Somebody has to win, somebody has to lose. But this year it's the same thing. He still has his same defense and same offense, and he is producing. Okay? And I see him as coming up from out of nowhere and just sliding right on through, taking everybody out because he's upset that he didn't go completely undefeated and make it to the Super Bowl last year and win everything out. So I'm looking at the Vikings going all that as my underdog, going all the way to the Super Bowl this season. That's my pick. That's my underdog pick.
All right. For my underdog pick, I've got the Baltimore Ravens going to bounce over to the AFC. The Ravens haven't performed up to their potential yet this year, but I think Justin Warden's got this team rolling. They're 5-3 right now, and they've lost 3 very close games to the Bills, the 49ers, and the Broncos, all one possession or less games, and every one of those teams only has 2 losses. So he's won some impressive games. He's lost some really close games to close opponents. And he's playing really well right now with the number 8 overall offense. If that defense can take a step forward, I think Warden can run the table in the AFC and make it to the Super Bowl. And so while we're on the topic of the Super Bowl, who is your prediction for the Super Bowl matchup?
I am going with my Super Bowl matchup was if I'm not mistaken, I went with the Raiders and the Packers. And the reason why I'm going with the Raiders and the Packers is due to the fact that right now the Raiders are undefeated in the AFC. And they seem to be unstoppable, to be honest with you. His offense is on key. His defense is on key as well. His running back Toll, when he drafted him as a rookie, it kind of seemed like he started off slow. But it's like, as you notice throughout the seasons, Toll has always been right up there, right in the top 5 of rushing yards with the halfbacks. And this season, he's proven the same thing. He's up there in the top 5 with halfbacks in rushing yards. So I'm looking at the Raiders going into the Super Bowl, and then I have to go with the Packers. Aaron Rodgers is on fire. He's phenomenal. Aaron Rodgers, Julio Jones connection, and let's not forget the tight end, Ertz. He's underrated. I mean, it's like nobody's looking at him. He's hard to stop. Okay? And then I can't forget Gurley. Gurley, won MVP? He should have won the MVP in rushing yards. He broke a single season rushing yard record. Okay? And he was not given due. So now this season, I see Gurley doing the same thing. Aaron Rodgers, Gurley, and Julio Jones making it to the Super Bowl, and it's going to be the Raiders battling it off for the trophy.
It is interesting. We get a preview of that potential Super Bowl matchup this week. Now, who do you think wins this week, and who do you think wins in the Super Bowl?
Oh my gosh! I'm from the AFC, and it's like, I'm supposed to support my AFC brethren. Okay? I have to support my AFC brethren. I'm sorry. I have to. But it's really hard because both teams are solid. Both players, Omar Bays and Alvin Boyce, are both solid Madden players. So this is a really, really tough one. But I'm going to have to go with the Packers taking this game this weekend.
All right. You heard it here first. AFC guy calling out his AFC division, or his AFC rivals, picking the NFC. All right.
I'm sorry.
For me, for the Super Bowl, I'm going to have to pick the Raiders against the Cardinals. The Raiders, their defense is unbelievable. They're number 1 in every defensive category. They're allowing only 12.8 points per game, and they're allowing only 219 yards per game. It's just phenomenal defense. The offense is not top of the league. It's not a world beater, but it's a good offense. It's a top 12 offense, and when you've got that good of a defense, you don't have to have a top 5 offense to win games. But then you look at the Cardinals. The Cardinals, the Super Bowl champions, undefeated. They have the number 2 offense in nearly every category, 43 points a game, almost 500 yards a game. But you flip to the defensive side of the ball, and they've got the number 3 scoring defense, giving up a little less than 21 points per game. The biggest question for them is, can B.J. Wright as a rookie lead them deep into the postseason? And my answer is yes. I'm going to pick the Arizona Cardinals to win over the Raiders in a tight Super Bowl.
This is going to be interesting.
It'll be interesting to see how it plays out. So let's move along to our MVP predictions. James, who do you have winning the MVP this year?
I'm going to have to go with Aaron Rodgers winning MVP this year. There's really no way that you can veer away from that. You're looking at the stats, but you also have to look at everything in the stats. The touchdowns, passing yards, because right now Rodgers has 2,736 passing yards with 29 touchdowns and only 10 interceptions. So that means Aaron Rodgers is throwing the ball, and he's smart when he's throwing the ball, or Alvin Boyd's controlling Aaron Rodgers, throwing the ball and playing good smart football. He has a QBR rating of 126.1. Hands down, Aaron Rodgers gets MVP this season.
All right. I'm going to disagree with you here, and I'm going to go step away from the quarterback position and look at Todd Gurley versus Landon Hughes. It's an interesting battle. Landon Hughes is on track for his second straight 2,000-yard receiving year, and he's on track for 25 touchdowns. And so you've got to think, I've got to pick this guy. But then you look at Todd Gurley, and he's having an impressive year, on track for a second straight 2,000-yard rushing year. So the question is, which is more impressive, 2,000 yards rushing or 2,000 yards receiving? And
that's
so
a good question, Shane.
Did some digging, and only 6 rushers in the history of the NFL have had 2,000-yard seasons. O.J. Simpson, Eric Dickerson, Barry Sanders, Terrell Davis, Jamal Lewis, Chris Johnson, and Adrian Peterson. Definitely elite company, and Todd Gurley is looking to fall into that for the second straight year.
Wow.
But then you look at what receivers in the NFL have had 2,000-yard receiving years, and the answer is none. Calvin Johnson came the closest in 2012 with 1,964 yards, but no receiver other than Landon Hughes has had a 2,000-yard season, and he did it as a rookie and is on track to repeat in his second year. And so for me, hands down, the MVP has to be wide receiver Landon Hughes.
Wow.
So let's flip to the other side of the spectrum. We've talked about the best players. Let's flip to some of the guys having the worst years. Which quarterback do you think ends the year with the most interceptions?
I'm sorry, but I'm going to have to go with I don't want to. I'm going to have to go with Brock Osweiler. Brock Osweiler right now currently has 39 interceptions in the league. 39, people. That's a lot that's more interceptions than some, 4 or 5 quarterbacks have in the league right now. So I'm going with Brock Osweiler as having the most interceptions at the end of the year with 39 interceptions right as we speak.
All right, I see Brock Osweiler, but I'm going to go with the guy who's number 2 right now, Jimmy Garoppolo. Garoppolo trails Brock Osweiler by only 5 interceptions, but he's thrown 21 interceptions in the last 3 weeks. And so Jimmy Garoppolo is in full meltdown mode right now. And if he's not able to pull it together, I'm calling Jimmy Garoppolo to be the leading interception thrower this season.
Wow. That's a lot of interceptions in 3 weeks. Wow.
That does Cam Newton proud. Sorry, Jane F. Got to call him out every time I can. All right, so to wrap it up here, we're going to go through and we're going to make division picks for each division. So I'll call out the division. You tell me who you have winning the division, and if you have a wild card team coming from that division, we'll see what our playoff pictures look like. So who do you have in the AFC North?
All right, so in AFC North, it was kind of, it was kind of, it was kind of a toss-up because the Ravens, Justin Warner's Ravens, they've always been consistent. Okay, right now they're 5-3. But I don't want to take anything away from Steve Stevenson because even though he's 4-5, he's still a solid player. So AFC North, I'm still going with the Browns. I'm gonna go with Steve Stevenson and his Browns taking the AFC North for the division.
All right, do you have the Ravens making a wild card spot?
Ravens will probably make a wild. They might make a wild card spot. I don't see why they wouldn't. I guess it all depends on what's going to happen with the other three divisions we get ready to talk about next in a few minutes. We'll see how that pans out.
All right, for me, I've got the Ravens winning that division. They've got a 1-game lead, a 2-game lead really in the loss column on the Browns as they're 5-3. The Browns are 4-5, and the Ravens appear to have quite a bit easier schedule down the stretch. So I'm going to take the Ravens to win the division and the Browns missing the playoffs as they're not able to secure a wild card spot.
Ouch.
So let's flip to the AFC South. Who do you have winning the division in the South?
I have to go. I have to go with the Titans.
All right.
I mean, there's really it. He made it to the AFC Championship last season. I still think it left a sour taste in his mouth, and I'm thinking that the Rev is going to want to get back there again this season. Right now he's 6-3. He's on a 1-game winning streak. And there's really no other team in the AFC South that can really stop him except for the Colts. The Colts are 4-4, but yet they're on a 2-game losing streak. So I got the Titans taking the AFC South hands down.
I agree with that pick. I've got the Titans winning the AFC South, which has become the easiest division as they've got 2 teams without a win right now, the ownerless Texans and then the newly taken over Jacksonville Jaguars, and I just don't see the Colts being able to overcome the Titans' division lead. I've got the Titans all the way. So what about your division, the AFC East? Who do you have coming out of the AFC East in what's probably the most intriguing division battle in the AFC right now?
I am going to have to go with, I'm not picking me, put it that way. I'm going to go with the New England Patriots. Shusky Beluski, he showed a different side of himself last season. He came in solid. He drafted well. He got a nice, good 2 wide receivers that are nice and fast. He's playing well with RG3. He still has the Gronk, and right now he's only 5-3. And he's still, even though he's on a 2-game losing streak, he is still showing that same poise that he showed last season in the AFC East. So I got the New England Patriots taking the AFC East this season.
All right, do you have a wild card team coming out of the East?
The Dolphins.
All right.
I'm going with the Dolphins as a wild card coming out the East.
All right. The East is interesting because you have the Bills leading at 6-2 and the Dolphins and the Patriots both 5-3 a game back. For me, I have the Buffalo Bills winning the division, and I've got the Dolphins edging out the Patriots for a wild card spot. So I have the Bills and the Dolphins making the playoffs this season. So no pressure, James, but don't let me down.
Thank you.
So AFC West. Who do you have coming out of the West? I think I know the answer to this, considering you picked him for the Super Bowl.
Yes, sir. Do we even need to? Hands down, Raiders are coming out of the AFC West. They're going to come out of the AFC West probably undefeated and on a bye, of course. Hands down. There's nobody. The Broncos are behind them 7-2, but the Raiders they have that momentum. They're undefeated, and they're playing good. Like you said, their defense. Their defense is spectacular. So I don't see anybody else coming out of the AFC West taking that division except for the Raiders.
I'm assuming you'll pick the Broncos for your second wild card spot.
Hands down. Hands down.
Yeah, no argument for me here. I've got the Raiders winning the division and the Broncos maybe having the second best record in the AFC, but coming in at the 5 seed with the wild card.
Yes, sir.
So over to the NFC. Let's start in the NFC North. Who do you have coming out of the NFC North?
I'm going to have to go with those cheeseheads. Green Bay Packers all the way coming out of the NFC North and taking it, and they'll probably end up with a bye with the Cardinals this season. I'm going with the Green Bay Packers.
All right. Do you think the Vikings will make it as a wild card team?
Vikings, most definitely. I have to go with the Vikings. The Vikings are 6-3. They're on a 2-game winning streak, and I don't see why they wouldn't. I mean,
right.
he's playing good defense, but good offense. He's going to be coming out. He's coming out.
All right, I'm going to pick the Packers to win the division, but I'm going to say the Vikings missed the playoffs, unable to secure a wild card in the loaded NFC. I just think the Vikings are going to be in a battle with a bunch of teams that are so close, but I think the Vikings miss out by probably a game or maybe even a tiebreaker and miss the playoffs.
Ooh, Michael Marquez is going to be upset with that.
It's okay. Maybe he'll knock off Alvin for us. So to the NFC South, what do you have? How do you have the NFC South shaken out?
This is really tough. NFC, the New Orleans Saints are on a 3-game winning streak, and they are on fire. Okay, they're 7-2, and they're still playing with poise, and their offense and defense, they're playing on all cylinders. But so you got the Falcons trailing them at 5-3, and they're on a 2-game winning streak. So that's really I got the Saints taking the division, but my second team I'm gonna have to go with the Falcons because the Falcons are also the previous season before last, they won the Super Bowl. Okay? And he still has his skills. They haven't gone anywhere. So I got him being my number 2. The Falcons being the number 2.
All right. Now I could be nice and pull a James and not pick my Saints to win the division. I could talk about the Falcons and how they won the Super Bowl 2 years ago and how they're coming on strong. I could talk about how the Panthers, how Cam Newton seems to have pulled his crap together and stopped throwing interceptions. But I'm not going to do that. Because the truth is, the road to the division runs through New Orleans.
Oh!
It always has, and it always will. The Saints won the division under my leadership 6 straight times in Madden 15. And but with the combination of Rob and myself have won the division every season but one this year, and this isn't the season that changes. Saints win the division. Panthers and Falcons both miss the playoffs. Next question.
Shots fired! Shots fired! Shots fired!
So on to the NFC East, a division I don't have as much of an emotional stake in. Who do you have coming out of the NFC East?
I'm going to have to go with Tyler Cool and his Dallas Cowboys because there's a new sheriff in town. That man is on fire. He is playing phenomenal. He's on a 5-game winning streak. 5-game winning streak. The momentum is there. His defense, his user defense is insane. I got the Cowboys coming out of the NFC East as a division winner. My number 2 pick is hands down going to have to be Mike Moran with his with New York Giants.
All right. I can't disagree with that. I've got the Cowboys winning the division. Tyler's playing great right now. I think they take the division from the guy who's won it almost every season before, Mike Moran. But I think Mike sneaks into the playoffs as a wild card team, and we'll just say that I don't want to face him in the first round. I think he'll make some noise in the playoffs. So I got the Cowboys and the Giants both making the playoffs out of the East. And then we go to what some have called the most stacked division in the game, the NFC West. Now, granted, everyone that's called it that is in that division, so I don't know if that skews it or not, but the NFC West has been called by all 4 guys in the division the toughest in the game. You could make an argument for that. Who do you have coming out of the NFC West?
The reigning champions, Arizona Cardinals. Michael Fasor is on fire. He's on a 9-game winning streak. He's undefeated. His rookie quarterback is going to be Rookie of the Year, and he's playing like a veteran. I don't see anybody else taking him down in the NFC West. Cardinals come out division winners, hands down. My number two spot out of that is going to be the 49ers.
All right, you can't pick against an undefeated team. Cardinals are 9-0. I think they win the division easy. They get a first-round bye. And then I picked Perry's 49ers to make the playoffs in the second wild card spot, along with the Giants in the NFC. And again, not a guy that you want to face in the first round. That first-round bye is going to be huge in the NFC because any of those 6 teams that make the playoffs and a couple that don't have every chance to go win a Super Bowl if they can just get in. Well, that's all we've got for you guys today. Thanks, James, for coming and joining us on the show today.
Woo!
Until next time, guys.
Thank you for having me.
Oh, no problem. Thanks for joining us. Join us next time as we talk about what we know about Madden 17. I'm going to have some screenshots that I've put together, some information I've got from some game changers. We're going to talk a little bit about Madden 17 and the changes and what they mean for CFM. And so you guys tune in next week. Till then, get your games in so I can play. I hate bye weeks. See you guys next week.
Thank you again. See you guys next week.